Stephen Mackleprang, welcome to the Conquering Everest podcast.
Hi, Brian. Teller, how are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to have you on the show and excited to talk about your adventures. But before we really get started and take a deep dive into your story, why don't we take a moment and I'll just afford you the opportunity to tell our listeners or viewers a little bit about yourself.
All right. People, I'm not the normal person you run into every day. Maybe you'd run into me and you'd remember it. If not somebody that you forget. And it might be because I got a little bit of a hitch in my step and I got a really pretty lady with me all the time. Sometimes I'll show a little leg, not all the time though. And I was into athletics, these kids, I wanted to be Bo Jackson. I did tons of sports, baseball, football, wrestling. Injured myself, then I decided I'm going to be a physical therapist, went to college, was good and stuff. And then, things changed.
Yeah.
Life changed. And then I got knocked down a peg and had to reconsider what I was doing. And so I decided, I might as well climb some mountains. It seems like, if you're going to do it, I used to go too fast, right? So now I get to slow down and see the beauty. And, yeah, a lot of changes, and I'm just really enjoying life now, which is strange after all the stuff that's happened, but it's made me appreciate everything I do more, much more.
Yeah, that's awesome. As I have come to know your story a little bit, it sounds like life changed for you at about the age of 16, and it started with a back injury.
Yeah, that's when things that first happened, and then you ignore it because you're invincible when you're 16. So, you just keep going. Oh, well, I got to play football. We're going to win state. We won state. And then, I decided, because I hated wrestling, though. I was only wrestling because I hated basketball. So I went into wrestling, and that's what I got hurt on. That's where I injured my back, like my sophomore year. Mm-hmm. And then I ignored it. And then finally got diagnosed with 2 herniated discs after senior year of football.
Oh,
and then so I still got to play baseball though. So I did that,
And you have all the weightlifting that goes in between for football and all that stuff too. I imagine, were you able to do that with the back or?
Oh, I did it.
Yeah, you did.
Like you said, whether I should have done any of it or not is besides the point. When I finally went to a surgeon for my back, because I went in there and they did an epidural, but he gets in there and he asked me, so what does it stop you from doing? And I'm like, well, if I want to do something, I still do it. Okay, well, here, let's go some pills, some prednisone, and then you should be fine. And I'm like, well, that was a real waste of 2 months getting in to see that guy who's supposed to be this giant specialist, super doctor is like, here, just take some pills, and they just made me swell up like a lobster and turn red and like,
oh wow.
Well, I hate like prednisone dose pack. What I've had, I'm sure other people have had them. That's a steroid.
Yeah.
And first time I had it, I hated it. It was miserable, and I've had them since then, and I hadn't had the problems. But all I know is I go to that doctor and take that, and nothing gets better. And then I'm like, I ain't going back to you. That was a big waste of time. I'm just gonna take care of it. Budweiser, he's my friend. Well, I'll make Budweiser my friend more.
You ended up having 4 surgeries on your back after it was all said and done, or was it more than that?
Well, 5 total, because I had a stimulator taken in and out. So one of them was taking it back out because it didn't really do anything. So right. I explained what a spinal cord stimulator is. It's like if people have had a TENS unit where they put the pads on you and electrical stimulation. It was an internal device that I had like a wallet size box that was on the top of my left ass cheek, and then it would run cords into your spine, and then it would shock your spinal cord to basically send different signals down to your brain to try to cover up your sciatic nerve pain. Really, it would just go ahead.
No, go ahead. What?
I would say really it would just make me do the chicken kick half the time because you move wrong and then it squeezes it in your epidural space. I'm trying not to use too many medical terms, but I usually teach anatomy, so I'll try to make it as simple as I can. But yeah, the epidural space, and then you just start chicken kicking, and like, what are you doing? Like, I gotta turn down the box.
Kind of like constant, getting tased, I guess. I don't know.
It was a little bit like that. It was
yeah.
a little bit like that.
Not that any of us know what that. No. So it was after high school when you got the surgeries, and after the fourth or fifth surgery, I mean, where were you age-wise? Were you well into your 20s by that point, or still?
My first surgery was when I was 20. The second and third, which was the fusion, because they went in through my stomach and gutted me like a fish, and then they kind of drilled holes in through my epidural space because I'm fused from L4 to S1. So between L4 and 5, they drilled holes and then screwed in these all-thread looking cages that would spread you back out. And then they went around my back and cut me open and then put in 2 rods and 6 screws to hold it together while the bone fused together, because they put in luckily I haven't had any problems, because the bone growth hormone was a fairly new technology that they put inside those cages, and then it would go out to fuse the bones together instead of taking a bone graft from your hip or something, or using cadaver bone. And some people it'll overgrow and grow out and cause problems, but I haven't had any of those, luckily.
But during this time, you had the surgeries, and then you developed a bit of an addiction. Was that more because of the pain, or just what? Like when you started battling your addiction, what brought that on? Was it specific to the back, or just?
It was 100% the back.
Yeah,
that had me 100% why. It was I never even took pain pills. I broke lots of bones growing up too, and I'd get like one football game my junior year, I broke my wrist and got a cast, and I still played in the game, and I came home and I had Vicodin. And I took some Vicodin to go to sleep that night, and that's it. And then they just stay in the cabinet, and my dad would take them for his migraines. And that would be pretty much the day. I'd never use them. And like I said, I started drinking, because that I realized I could tone down my pain. And then once they gave me Percocet in college, when I went in and they saw how my back was, because even after my first surgery, I just took a few pills and then I was off, and then I just, went back to how I was. But then they ruptured, and then they gave me Percocet, and it took, like, the pain was gone, and I was just like, it was like I'd seen the light. I'm like, there it is. That's the answer. You guys give me the pills. Boom, it's over. It's out of the park.
Oh man. Yeah. And you hear so much, especially with athletes, the pain pills, because they work so well that you try to go back to normal, but you have to have that pain relief to stay at a certain level. I've had a few things. I played sports in high school. I remember, getting some fights and things like that. And you feel like you could get up and do the things that you normally could do, and like probably in hindsight, causes a little more damage than you'd like. Absolutely. But we were talking a little bit before we went on the air, and we said, kind of like your life story is it's like almost like Mother Nature. Your back's hurt, and then Mother Nature's like, hold my beer, and then you've got the pain pill addiction that creeps in. But Mother Nature wasn't done with you yet, because then the next thing that happened is like, I think of this and I'm like, whoa, and that's your legs.
Yeah, well, this is kind of how I see it too, because then when I hooked on the pain pills, I became a giant asshole. Right? So I was not myself, because they completely change your personality and everything about you, because you stop producing natural endorphins and things. So you become this, like, nothing's enjoyable. You're this giant prick. And so I keep going through all this stuff. I get addicted, and I was in the middle there before the addiction really took hold. I was addicted, but I was still productive. I was going to be a pain doctor. I taught anatomy as an undergraduate at UNR, and then I went over to the community college, and I was running the cadaver lab and set it up to do the MCAT to go be a doctor and be a pain doctor and get everyone strung out on dope. because that's what I thought the answer was.
Yeah,
that was the answer. And then, and then all this stuff happened. It's just a super long story. And then the pain pills ended up, I was not me though. I was not me. So like Mother Nature is like, we need to get you being back to who you are and chasing life and doing stuff. So we're going to knock you down a peg and let you see the beauty in all life all around, because you're going to have to, or you're just going to be pissed because you're not going to go fast anymore. So yeah. And
you're a dual amputee, right? You lost?
Yeah, my left leg above the knee. I came out of a coma, and my left leg was cut off below my knee, and then my right foot was cut in half. So the 1 and 2 metatarsal and all my toes. So like the main balance part of my foot, they got rid of that because I don't like to have anything easy.
Yeah. Now you said coma, and I didn't know there was a coma in there too. So was the amputations a result of overworking the injured back because you had the pain pills, or did that what brought upon this coma here?
Well, there's so much before it, because I just I'll tell it like
you could tell us that
because the pain pill addiction, like when I was teaching in college, like I started seeing a pain psychologist. I was in Reno. I started seeing a pain psychologist because I didn't want to be on dope my whole life. I knew that in my mind. I'm like, I don't want to be owned by these pills. I don't want to be dope. I want to get off of it. So I went to this pain psychologist, and we're doing mindfulness visualizations and whatnot, and it turned my brain chemistry on. So then the next morning when I go to wake up, I was super high as a kite, and I hadn't taken any pills because the pills that I was on were still in my system, but then my brain came on. And I was super out of it, and I went to work, gave a lab practical, and then between classes,
may have lost you here, Stephen. We'll get Stephen back. There we got you back. Yeah.
There we are.
A little technical difficulty, but you had said you gave the lab, and then in between, and that's kind of where you cut off.
So in between, I was so out of it, and I told my coworkers, my meds are really messing with me today. I didn't take anything. I go to the bathroom, pass out on the can. They a cop ends up pulling me off the toilet an hour later, asking what I do there, and I tell him I'm an instructor. And I was super high. So then I wasn't coming back to work there again, right? And then I lost my health insurance, and then I moved to Utah. And when I moved to Utah, because my doses were so high, I go to one doctor, and he's like, "That's too much. Go here." And so the law took notice, even though I hadn't broken the law because I had overlapped for insurance or prescriptions, threw me in jail. I had to withdraw from everything, sat in jail for 60 days until I got my charges dismissed, which took me after to withdraw and then get my brain back and then point out things to my public defender. So then I got everything dismissed because I didn't have the $10,000 bail to get myself out. So they charged me with two counts of prescription fraud. And so then I come out 60 days later, and then I took the pills because that's what my brain had been. Oh, I got to have this dope now because I have my dope sitting there. And then it caused me to overdose, and I drowned in my vomit, and then they found me dead and bloated on top of my legs. But they say 18 to 20 hours later.
So you were like deceased.
I was like, you see this? I got a scar on my face. It goes up into my hair here, down to my chin. I was laying on my arm, and then I got this hole in my rib. That's where my right foot was on that, and so then the end of it turned black. And then my other leg I was sitting on, it cramped around the knee, and then it compartment syndrome caused gangrene. And luckily, I had a strong heart, and I had enough. Like I had severe pneumonia when I got revived back. That I think my heart went a little bit for long enough that I didn't fully die until they were pretty much close to there. And then they got me into a coma, and then I had a lot of fun in a coma. I did really cool stuff.
I can't imagine what, I joke sometimes and say, man, I could sure go for a week-long coma, but I guess it's probably no joking matter when you actually go through it. Then of course you don't really know you're there. I don't know.
Oh, so, you don't know you're there. It was it's pretty funny. I write about it in the book, but it was like heaven. It was like, wow. It was traveling the world and my nurse taking me to orgies and it was heaven. And then I woke up and then I was like, Captain Buzzkill, tell me how I should have died and everything. And I'm like, hey man, I was having a good time. Send me back.
Yeah. So when you had overdosed, you said it was like 18 to 20 hours. I mean, did you have any sort of idea what was going on, or were you just totally like out, like gone to where you physically, mentally, you didn't know?
See, back is breaking up there for a second.
Oh, am I back here?
Yeah, you're back now. Yeah.
I was just saying, when you so you were in the you had overdosed, and that was like an 18-20 hour window before before help got there. Was it in that long? And then
that's what they claimed from the necrosis on my body was, I think, how they rated it, because they didn't. There's no one there. So I was staying at my brother's house when I came back, but they were all down in Salt Lake City, and they live up in Hiram, like Logan, Utah, which is 90 miles, because they just had a daughter, wasn't that old, and she had to have surgery on her eye. And so they were gone. And I just got out of jail then, and is there. And then the pills, because one of them I was on was methadone, which is the worst stuff there is. And that's something they use to get people off of dope, which is the most ridiculous thing, because it's harder to give off than any of them. I mean, the Nazis made it, so it doesn't make any sense to me. But
oh, man. So, I mean, were you, during that time that you were out of it, overdosed, passed away, I didn't even know how to explain it. I mean, did you experience, did you know what was going on? Did you feel anything, or was it just kind of blacked out? Don't know what happened at that time. You know what happened, but it was like the first part was really kind of a blur, but I knew I kind of sensed myself above my body, and my sister-in-law found me, and I really wasn't on good terms with my family then. And I kind of got the choice to stay or go. And I kind of let her know that everything's gonna be fine. And she said when she saw me, I was in this big pile of crap on the ground, vomit and like swollen and dead, but felt like she's comforted with something, etc. And then I went into just like I said, then I thought I was in a hospital in Port Royal in the Caribbean, and it was also a McDonald's, and they were bribing me to change the bandages on my legs. And I knew my legs were all messed up, but I had this sexy chick I knew from my life who was actually my nurse too, and taking care of me. And then we were playing, like, one part we were playing Texas Hold'em in Vegas, and like strippers and blow, and that's like what it was. And then we're in the Mediterranean Sea, and we're swimming down for aphrodisiac fruit to like have more orgies with Greek women. And then it would be like the movie Inception, where you just dream to dream to dream. Oh, wow.
And the one part, they tried to recruit me to be like a RoboCop type guy, because they were going to engineer a mortar system into my leg. And then I was going to be sent to China to fight these terrorists that were on the Yellow River that were supposed to be trying to blow up the dam there. And I was like all in for it too, because I thought my niece and nephew were on the other side of the dam in Disney World, China or something. So I'm like, I got to stop it. And then I found out they were all full of crap, and so they got kicked out of the program.
so man, that I can't imagine. Your mind's probably going crazy, because it's like all the constant dreaming. So I kind of let me recap, make sure I have everything kind of in order. So in high school, you injure your back, but because you're young and full of courage and bravery, you play through you fight through the pain, you deal with it, you get out of high school, and you're going into college, and you're realizing, okay, this isn't good, I need to get some help. And I know this is all paraphrasing. So you go from high school to college, young adulthood, you've got these surgeries happening. They give you pain pills, which then your your body needs, or your mind and your body needs to cope, and they're giving you different ones, dangerous ones, and then that results in an overdose, which results in you dying and then coming back, and then when you came back, you had your legs were gone, and so where was your mind at when you woke up and you finally? I think if that happened to me, I would probably go into a deep depression for a while. Did any of that happen to you? I mean, what was your mindset after learning?
It's strange because, like I said, me and my family didn't get along a lot, and so what weird thing is, like when I came out of that, there was this giant. This is kind of, and I'd been messed up a lot of my life, which is weird. I had lots and lots of injuries. So this is all really weird because I come out and then I had all these people around, like my mom was there rubbing my hand and all my family's there and everybody, there was this giant outpouring of love. So in a way, I was like, well, actually it was weird because I had kind of this wake up because like I said, I was this really kind of prick for like 6 years when I was strung on all the pills. And I went to a total hermit where I didn't really talk to anybody. Yeah. So then it's like I come back and like realize that I had made an impact on a lot of people sometime in my life because all the stuff that was coming. So that helped a lot initially. It helped a lot for a while until I got back on until I stayed on pills too long again.
Okay.
And then that kind of caused problems again because you're not the same person. You're not the person that I am. And then I ended up giving problems. I'm not doing anything, even though, well, I would start acting like I'm doing something because I had to do something because I hadn't got my disability on yet. So I was kind of staying at my folks' place. And then I was driving my dad crazy because I'm like not doing anything, I'm being useless and I'm not useless. Like I can do lots of stuff. So I know it just really is upsetting to him to sit there and see like this kid that's good at crap, just like being a useless junkie. You know what I mean? So then I started like, okay, I'm going to go back to, I was doing everything that wasn't for me. Cause even like going to be a pain doctor before, these were all things that I didn't necessarily, I want to do because I could do it. And I think I could help people and I could have all the dope I wanted. That's like what my thinking is. And before that I was going to be a pharmacist because I'm like, oh, it's a good career. But it wasn't because I wanted to do pharmacy. It wasn't because I wanted to enjoy any of it, so that's like, I was going to go and be a prosthetics doctor. I was going to be a prosthetist, and which isn't a bad dig, and I would have liked that because I would have been helping people. But I think I can do, like, that's not like really what I want to do. Like what I'm doing now, I like doing more, taking pictures and doing things that are inspirational that way, which can show, like I do this picture book of just my prosthetic leg, and like the one I want to show, because I'll go places that I'm not really expected to be. And so I like just putting my leg there because then it can show, like this one, I'm on top of White Mountain Peak, which is 14,252 feet.
Wow.
And then the box, you can't see it, it says, so you think who says I can't?
Right.
So it's like photojournalism, and then like this other side, it's in front of Mount Whitney, which I just got a permit and tried to hike it. I got 7 miles in, and then I would have committed recreational suicide if I'd have kept going. There's no way I was going to fall off. It got too icy, and then
that was it.
Too much.
For you, that breakthrough, like when in your mind, you finally said, you know what? I've got this opportunity to truly live life on your terms and get out there and really start figuring out what it was you want to do. When did that breakthrough occur for you?
Oh, when I finally, because then I did after the first, I went and volunteered at my prosthetic place. And then I got accepted into Northwestern's prosthetic program, and I went to Eastern Michigan actually because I applied at the same time. It was orthotics and prosthetics and orthotics, but I was still on pain pills. And then I went to school and I messed it all up and I overdosed and died again. I got found dead. This time was completely my fault. Yeah. Like, because by now, like what the progression of everything is, the pills stop working and I'm too smart, so then I start change route of administration. First I'm snorting them, and then I become where I'm shooting them up. And so I finally realized that I was just a junkie then. Yeah. Like kind of a junkie. I was taking care of my pain, but like I was really just, all I cared about was my pills. Yeah. And I overdosed there, died. They found me. I got Narcan, came back, and then I decided I had to go to rehab and do something different. And then I went there and got off all the pills, and then I reassessed what I do. And then after actually rehab, because rehab kind of addicts you to rehab. And they still had me on all these other pills that weren't narcotics, but I just finally said I'm not taking anybody's crap anymore and just smoking weed. And when I did that, and then everything changed. I don't take any pills now. I just use cannabis. After I was on $5,000 of pills, they had me on like non-narcotics too, a whole gang of them to get to sleep and all this other stuff. And then I just, I went against the grain of everything, because that caused a lot of problems. Nobody's like, this isn't what you should be doing, because out of rehab, that was really looked down upon. And now people are actually understanding that cannabis is very medicinal for a lot of things. Yeah. And so I had to fight against the grain of everything there, because the rehabs, especially as in Utah, and then all of my family, everything wasn't like, that's okay. So then I just said, I don't care. This is what I'm doing. And then I ended up selling my other prosthetic leg on eBay. And it gave me enough money to buy a car. And then I drove around, and that's what a lot of my book is about. I drove around giving people rides off of Craigslist. It was like, I fly, you buy. Where do you need to go? I'm here. Where do you want to go? I'll drive you there. And we'd go to national parks. And that's how I just wandered around and went to all kinds of different stuff for a couple of years until I hit a cow. Yeah, I was saying that's what
that one's
my book is about.
Yeah, well, and I do want to talk about your book here, but I just want to make sure this is, man, your story is like it. This podcast is not a competition at all. But if it was, out of all the guests I've interviewed, I think you've got a strong case for first place. So you injured your back. You had 4 surgeries. You've had 19 surgeries or something like that in your life.
Yeah.
You've overdosed and died twice. I mean, that is a lot of bad luck. I mean, I know it's not luck, but what I love about it is when you finally had that coming, I call it a coming to Jesus moment, but you had that breakthrough where you said, okay, enough is enough. I've got to change something. You just took life head on after that. And that's like, I would probably say, I don't know what the percentage is, but I would say most people that have gone through anything even close to yours, how do they live their life? I mean, I think I'd be a mess, but so you decide I'm going to live life. You start traveling, making things happen. You start going all these cool places. And so the book, let's talk a little bit about your book. You said that it cut out just a little bit, but did you say you'd hit a cow and then that was kind of like the book?
Yeah. I drove around because I bought the Pontiac Sunfire, which I called my mobile home. Okay. And so I hit a cow by Natural Bridges National Park, or National Monument, which is by the Four Corners in Utah. Super, super dark. Wow. And that's what stopped me running around.
You didn't die again after that, did you?
No, this is crazy though. Well, the cow almost came through and killed me, but the airbag came out at the same time as the cow hit the windshield and bounced it off. Wow. And yeah.
But yeah, you climb these mountains, these hills. It almost sounds like you're in more danger on the ground than. But so let's talk about the book. What the book is it's kind of a story of your life. And
well, it is. I start out with because it's kind of a compilation of short stories of what I did on. There's so much I left out of it actually, because there's just so much that happened that I couldn't remember.
There's gonna be a second book then.
Yeah, there's gonna be still hopping.
There you go.
And it starts out, the first story is like you see here. It's when I hiked Angel's Landing in Zion, which was just hilarious because I hadn't hiked for a while. I got there, and my friend told me I should check it out, and I'm just like, let's do it. And I didn't really have any food, or I had a little bit of milk that morning I drank, and I was I just found a bottle of water on the way, and I'm just like, I smoked my last bowl, and I'm like, let's do it, let's go there. And then I met all these cool people that like one guy would carry my trekking poles, luckily, because that would have been the last half mile of Angel's Landing. It's like chain link, that's the hard part. And I needed somebody to kind of scout the best route for me. And he'd hiked the Pacific Crest Trail and the Continental Divide Trail. He's like a long, big hiker guy. And he saw me up ahead, and he was with this guy, Shay. And Shay was like, I'm done. I'm scared of heights. And Shane's like, oh man, I hear there's a 9-year-old girl and a one-legged guy doing it. And then he looked up and could see me up there with my poles going, and he's like, oh, I gotta do it now.
Oh man.
So,
yeah.
So he caught me, and then that was like, and then I'll tell, and then I have other stories, and then I wrap back around to how I got, popping, and then kind of reconciliation with my family, because that's like the best part about like the story, because there's all these problems, but then like I reconcile with my family, which is all great.
So so I was gonna say that's all good now. You're in a better place with them, and I'm in my mom's house right now. I come in and out of here because my father passed away a couple of years, which I'm really really glad that everything got straightened out before he passed away, because me and my father always got along really good. I kind of caused contentions between. He's happy to look out for my mom, you know what I mean, which is understandable because that's what he did. But so then I come and I kind of try to look out for my mom and fix her trucks and do different things, and then I go and wander and explore for a couple months, and then I come back through now, and she's always like, because I almost froze to death like 2 winters ago. I went to some hot springs in northeast Nevada, and I got stuck in this bog between them for 9 days, and it got down to -15, and there was no cell coverage. So then when I got out, and the other stuff almost sounds like it's made up, but then the brake line on my car got broken too leaving. So then I didn't have any brakes leaving. I'm have to like do a train because I don't want to stop getting back into Elko 70 miles away. But I hadn't talked to anybody in 8 days, and so now I call her kind of every day when I'm out somewhere, so she knows I'm not dead. Yeah, you definitely have a major purpose in this life, as much as you've been through, and getting stuck in. It's like every aspect of your life's got these twists and turns, and I commend you for just not letting fear, especially fear, get in the way. You're still doing your thing, and like it sounds like somebody, one-legged guys climbing the mountain, and it's like, okay, well, I've got to do it now because I have no excuse. What was it on that box? It said, and you think you can't, right, or something to that.
Yeah. So you think you can't. You just saying that was something that makes it so much easier for me, because I have so many people like after that time, and then I notice when I'm on the trail, it gets everybody really excited. So that's like energy flows over to me that gives me more to go, because I heard so many people after that day like, man, I wasn't gonna go past Scout's Lookout, but I heard a one-legged guy was doing it, and then I saw all these people, like this one old guy, I wasn't gonna go past there, but then they all got there, and no, I didn't do it, but I had a part of it. That feels good.
I tell you what, I don't know if you've considered doing a TED Talk, but I think you need to. I think you need to think about that, because you've got one heck of an inspirational story. Just everything that how you cram all that into like a 15-minute TED Talk. I think there's I am a storyteller, and this podcast is all about telling stories, and you've got an amazing story that I hope you get a big audience for it, because it's it's inspiring me just hearing it, and just knowing everything that you had to overcome, and different times in my life when I've had issues, and and I've kind of fought through it. Of course, at the time I'm thinking, oh, this is the worst thing in the world. But then I hear stories like yours and I'm like, my problems aren't nothing. Like, why am I even complaining? So besides the book, you've got the photojournalism going. Are you publishing that anywhere yet? Or
see, I'm trying to learn how to do that. Like,
yeah.
I just printed them off of some online company. I took my stimulus money and printed a bunch. I sold, I just need to get out and work on this, sell them.
Yeah.
And I need to learn how to get them. Because I sold 10 to a store north of the Grand Canyon, like at the gift shop. And but I know I need to get it on a wider scale because they're very, like, I haven't seen anybody who's been like, that sucks. They're like,
yeah.
my photography is getting better. I'm not an expert, but it's pretty decent and I'm getting better stuff. And, I'm trying to figure out how to get in contact to do that. Cause I tried to figure out how to sell it. Cause I'm finishing my audiobook right now.
Yeah.
Cause I'm narrating the audiobook to the Hop About, and I'm finishing that and I'm making some corrections when I do it. And I'm adding little stuff. Cause I make fun of myself some more in there. Right. I'll say I've learned my writing and some stuff. I'm like, man, that's some ego right there. Like, yeah. Tone your head down there, buddy. Like, what was the point of that? But yeah, I'm all learning. Anyways.
Yeah, and I know we had a little conversation, and you're rebuilding your social media, but definitely, I mean, I'm not a social media expert, so anybody that's listening or watching this, please, reach out. But like Instagram, things like that, I think would be, probably a really great place for you to get a lot of those pictures too, because I think that would give you a nice big following, and it's amazing once you start being vulnerable and throwing everything out there. Speaking from my personal experience, once I got really real and I just let my story go out there, so many doors of opportunity open, and I didn't open them. Other people opened them, coming to me saying, hey, yeah. So your adventures and pictures. I mean, I have a feeling and I know there's another book in you. And like I said, TED, I think it's very inspiring. So we're kind of getting to a point where we're going to wrap up here, but I want to make sure that, anybody that's listening to the story and they go like, well, I need to connect with this guy. What is there best ways, or an email or anything that you'd like to share with the listeners that would be a good way for them to get a hold of you if they wanted to talk?
The email, it's just real, REAL.MacSteve.
Okay.
MACKSTEVE @outlook.com.
All right. We'll make sure we include that in the descriptions.
And then I do have Instagram, which I just started because I had about 1,000 followers at just MacSteve. Oh, actually my email, that was my actual Instagram, was real.MacSteve. My email is just realMacSteve. There's no dot in it. Okay. It's just realMacSteve @outlook.com. And then my Instagram now is able to -10 toes, and the two and the 10 are numbers. Okay. So able -- 2 - and then 10 toes, and then I do have I have a YouTube, which is Gimp Pimp 420, because I used to stand up comedy, but now I generally sit down.
Boom, boom. So is it okay? Yeah, we'll make sure.
Oh yeah, because I got some stand up on there, and I am getting booked certain places. But if there's anybody who wants me to come speak and do comedy, definitely Real MacSteve. And yeah,
and I got your email, so I'll make sure that's all in the description. But I appreciate you coming on. I've been looking forward to this, and I can't wait to put the graphic for this together, because you did send me a really cool picture of your woman there at the top of the mountain. Man, it's your story. And sometimes I do this at the end of these episodes. I see if I can get a commitment from you, and that commitment is somewhere down the road, maybe little time go by, get a few more adventures. But I'd like to have you back on and get like an update on you if you're good with that.
Absolutely.
Let's stay in touch, and I'll have you back on, because I have a feeling next 6 months for you, that's you may you may really have some more great stories. Hopefully, good stories. No more death stories.
Yeah.
Let's make them good. But yeah, there's so much to your story, and I do hope you put out a second book, because yeah,
I'm working on one. I actually, yeah. There's I mean, there's so much I actually did to get the book published. Like between then and when I got published, that I'm working on with my other friend. That's called self-published. Which is just hilarious, because there's just so much absurdity in there that it is like.
Well, anybody listening, you don't, whatever is holding you back, you've got no excuse, because this guy has come back from it all, and he's literally on top of the world sometimes. So, Stephen, thank you so much for being on the show. Hang tight. We'll have a little chat offline, but I look forward to talking to you again down the road.
Thank you, Brian. This is my pleasure.
All right.